Greetings, Dr. Herzog and PBA 510 classmates. My name is Emily Blackman, and my presentation today will discuss personnel problems that has been a challenge to many organizations, including public and medical sectors. So before I jump into my presentation, I have two questions. If you were a human resource personnel today, would you know how to confront a no-call, no-show? Or what if an employee walked out on a job? My presentation today will discuss situations where employees walk out of the job. Also, I will discuss whether the employees walking out of the job constitutes as quitting. And lastly, I will present a case study from my summer internship at Nacogdoches Memorial Hospital. I love the quote by Chinese philosopher Confucius that says, choose a job that you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. I agree with this quote. However, what happens if the job you love leads to dissatisfaction? When an employee walks out of a job, it's usually in response to confrontation, situations causing anger and frustration, or even horrible working conditions. For an example, during the year of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit in New Orleans, 200 police officers were walked out of the job, and sadly, two committed suicide. This was all in relation to working conditions. However, in such a major emergency as the strike of Hurricane Katrina, it was vital that officers were there to help the people in New Orleans. The working conditions faced by the officers consisted of officers having to walk around with wet boots from the contaminated water. Officers were also unable to make it to gas stations to fuel their vehicles because the roads were filled with water. Also, the officers had no place to defecate or urinate while they were on duty. Out of the 200 officers that walked out of the job, very few reported to their superiors that they were actually leaving. While on the other hand, you had employees that just simply did not show up, stating that the weather was too severe to travel or that they had already evacuated with their family members. During disasters, police officers played a key role in many operations, including searches, rescues, evacuations, door-to-door checks, and maintaining overall public safety with the community. There is no way any officer should choose whether or not they will be present when they work directly with the community. I know you may be wondering, so how does a human resource leader determine if walking out of the job constitutes as quitting? Well, according to an article that I read on employment and labor, HR personnel can determine their decisions on whether an employee is paid hourly or salary. There are specific criteria assigned based on whether an employee is hourly or salary. For an example, hours worked by salary employees are defined not critical as opposed to an employee paid hourly that is expected to work a defined shift. It would all depend on the nature of the job. For instance, a nurse at Nacogdoches Memorial Hospital. A nurse working at Nacogdoches Memorial Hospital walking out of the job constitutes as direct failure to do the job because one, they're paid hourly, and for two, they have direct patient care. So it is critical that they are always there at their job. Whereas for many salary office jobs, continuous attendance is not really necessary. But what if an employee said something while walking out? Or better yet, what if something prompted an employee to walk out? All of these factors have to be considered when determining whether an employee walking out constitutes as quitting. Documenting is extremely important in this type of situation, and dealing with employees that walk out of the job can go in many different directions depending on the value of the employee as well as the situation at hand. I will now discuss the 5 steps that Fact presented in his article over writing a statement when employees walk out. He mentioned that as an HR personnel, your statement will become a part of an employee's human resource file. So your main goal is to be as accurate as possible when reporting an incident. So the first step, he states, create a list of events surrounding the employee walking out, being sure to only report facts and always avoid the reason for walking out. For the second step, he states, Start the statement out by recapping the event. Remove any judgment or references from this section. Include the employee's actions and behaviors only by using a standard business letter style format in one paragraph. The third step to describe how the employee walking out runs contrary to your company's policy or workplace rules. And this section reflects how the employee consequences are driven by their behavior and not by any personal feelings you have towards them. This section is also to be one paragraph. In the fourth step, Shrek mentions to summarize consequences of a worker's walkout. For an example, if a worker said anything while exiting, like "I quit," be sure to acknowledge acceptance or rejection of the "I quit" statement made by the employee. However, if the employee just leaves and returns the next day, outline the disciplinary actions that will be taken in accordance to your company's policy. In this step, you write one paragraph per major or significant violation of your company's policy. The fifth step is the easy step. This step, you will proofread and spell check your statement. You will make sure that you eliminate any emotional context. And also, if you were involved in conversation leading up to the walkout, be sure to have a trusted colleague in your document to ensure that you remain professional. In an interview I had about a week ago with the two human resource personnel administrators at Nacogdoches Memorial Hospital, one of the questions I asked the ladies was if they were experiencing any problems within the organization. Consequently, they were having issues with employees walking out on the job. Specifically, an employee that was responsible for direct patient care walked out on the job because he or she wanted to spend time with their family members for the holidays. The employee did not notify any management, and the HR personnel was soon contacted by the specific department. The HR personnel gave me a copy of their at-work attendance policy, and it reads as follows. All employees are expected to be on duty at their specific working time, be in attendance and available during scheduled hours, and are expected to be off duty when their specified work time has ended. Because of the urgent nature of hospital work, regular attendance by all employees is essential. The procedure is read as follows. If an employee is absent from work and fails to notify the supervisor or director in the sufficient amount of time needed, or leaves hospital without appropriate notification, disciplinary actions will be taken. More than one unexcused absence or unauthorized departure from the hospital is sufficient ground for immediate termination. I found this really interesting that they actually experienced, not saying that they wouldn't, but just because I was doing my presentation over this, that I actually got to get a face-to-face experience about someone walking out the job and how the situation was handled. In conclusion, whether an employee walked out of the job because they no longer wanted to be there, or if they were dissatisfied with the working conditions, the key factor is the doctrine of employment at will, which refers to the presumption that employment is for an indefinite period of time and can be terminated either by the employer or employee, which holds whenever there is no employment contract, including unions. As mentioned previously in my presentation, the employee value may play a huge role in an HR leader's decision. Essentially, there are no rights to a job. So when the HR personnel want to get rid of an employee because they walked out on the job, they actually can. Thank you, classmates and Dr. Herzog. That's all I have. I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.